Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by Mouth Culture to discuss their latest EP, Whatever the Weather. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening. Well, absolutely honoured to have Mouth Culture on the Full Pelt Music Podcast today. How are the three of you doing this evening?
We're very well, thank you, bro.
Very good, very good. Yeah, just got in from work, but it's Friday, so we don't have it tomorrow. So, result.
Exactly. Yeah, best day of the week, absolutely. And a great day of the week for me because I get to talk to you guys, and it's an exciting time to be talking to you because as we speak today, it's 2 weeks after the release of your latest EP. So whatever the weather, which, I'm probably going to say multiple times during this podcast is one of my, if not my favorite release of the year so far. So absolutely
Big up.
fantastic EP. And again, can't wait to sort of delve into it. But first question is 2 weeks out of release. What have you guys found the reaction to be to the EP? What do you think people have been saying?
It's been, to be fair, it's blown us away, if I'm honest. It's like the rise from, we were already blown away from the response of Mishaps, and then people, in terms of music, like these days, it's not. We do. What was I trying to say? Whatever the weather came out pretty quick. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of bands would have sat on it for a bit longer, but we wanted to get it out, and we were kind of worried that like, oh, will people like that? Will it be too much? Do you know what I mean? Like you don't want to overdo it, but everyone's been eating it up, and they want more, if anything. So it's like,
Yeah, I think this day and age, isn't it? It's like,
yeah,
there's a fine balance between like over releasing and saturating just to fulfill that sort of short attention span of everyone versus like letting the record have its time to breathe and time to sort of develop, because it can pop off at any moment. Do you know what I mean? It could be 6 months after release where one song has a certain like link to it where people then go to it, and then it just snowballs from there. But yeah, I think we found a good balance, didn't we, from the time from Mishaps to now. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, as you say, a fine balance to try and strike. And, it's a tricky industry to navigate. And attention spans, as you say, in particular, are very limited these days. So, bands do tend to sort of put out more smaller pieces of content rather than bigger pieces of content. And, obviously, we might touch in a minute about what might come next. But for me, staying with with the EP, with whatever the weather. I just found it to be, such a ambitious record on your part. The different influences and the different styles that obviously clearly have gone into it, and obviously, the love you have for some of those influences sort of shone through. But it was very much done not to replicate what has been done before, but obviously to push into your own direction as mouth culture and find out what your identity is going to be. So I just want to ask, how important that having that level of ambition is, to yourselves.
it's crucial, really.
That is the one thing our one rule is we just want it to be authentic. We don't want to. Everybody these days is not like everybody's copying, but there's so many replicas these days, and people are very quick to like know that as well. Like people aren't thick; they know like what you're trying to copy or what you're trying to do. But if you can take those influences, but then still make it new, it's like, I guess that's what we're trying to do. That's what we wanted to do with whatever the weather. We didn't want to. Everyone's kind of like obsessed with this nostalgic thing, aren't they, and whatever. But we love nostalgia. But I think we wanted to write a record that was something new for us, not just like, oh, this sounds like this band that we used to listen to and stuff like that. We wanted to kind of test the water a bit, ready for, well, guess what we're going to do next? Like it's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think as well, it's like with the like you touched on that we have like different styles throughout the EP, even though it's a short body of work in the grand scheme of things. It's like going across those different genres and sort of styles is, I think, plays into more that we write in a way that's not really like fabricated to be a whole like thing that you're trying to replicate. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, we've done that song, it did well, so let's try and keep doing that.
Yeah.
It's more of just what we think sounds the best and feels the best to us is, and then it kind of just sort of gels together, doesn't it, at this point?
Just trusting you, like we've just been trusting our gut this far, and that's whatever the weather was as well. We wrote a load of songs that we were like, fucking hell, this might be a bit heavy than we used to, like No Shame or Every Day is like, it's a really mature song, and it was like, it's a really personal song as well, and it was at the same time, do you want to release that yet? Do you want to save it for like an album or something like that? I don't know, but it was all thought out, wasn't it? And like Every Day, for example, that was a song that we'd been sat on for a while, and we were like, let's just put it out. We should, like, it's the music.
The right time.
Yeah, it's the music we want to play right now. So what's the point of it just sitting on our computer? Do you know what I mean? It's a simple thing, like, well, not just on the computer, like, but you know what I mean.
I think stuff like it's like organically came together, and like
Yeah.
the stuff we've wrote, and like with Jack's voice as well, it's so sort of identifiable, and I think that is like a core thing across those different styles to make them feel as a body of work, because it can quite easily sound really disparate in when you're listening to it, but because of that, I feel it gels like all the time. Whatever we kind of write,
we always give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that is so important, having that identity, like I say, especially when there is the different styles in there. But I mean, it's different horses for different courses, is an old saying. But sometimes a concept album or something like that can work really well. But my favorite albums have always been ones where the artist is trying out different things. There's different, you don't want to listen to 10 of the same track on an album. You want a bit of diversity in there to obviously keep you interested. And I think obviously, even though it is a shorter piece of work on the EP, you definitely achieve that. But key point, as I say, is having that identity flow throughout. And I think that is what makes it one of my favorite albums, EPs of the year so far. As you talked again about balance between honoring what's gone on in the past and the nostalgia, but also obviously trying to strive for new sounds and obviously new directions. And balance is a word that in my life I constantly chuck at people, because it's what life is all about. And yeah, it is. And it works really, really well. And again, listeners listening to the podcast, I would be surprised if you're checking out the full Pelt Music Podcast of Mouth Culture and you haven't listened to this EP. But if you haven't, obviously I direct you to clicking the links in the bio. Go and listen to it for sure. So we're going to pick on 2 tracks as well from the EP, just to put a spotlight on. And the first one is No Shame, because it was the last sort of track that came from the record. And I always like just to delve into the tracks we've featured over on our accompanying playlists, and that was the one we had on there most recently. So with No Shame, what can you tell listeners about that track? What's the meaning behind it, and how did it come together for you?
Well, lyrically, the meaning, it came from, we already said this in an interview last week, and we had...
No, we didn't really. This is an exclusive.
An exclusive to Port Pelt. It came from like, we basically had like a party, a New Year's party, and someone was just a little bit OTT, and it got to the point where kind of everyone didn't want them there in a way. I'm sure you've had parties like that or gatherings like that where it's a bit awkward.
I love how PG's making all this.
I don't know what we could say, but it was
But it was a super frustrating thing as well, because we had like people there that obviously we wanted, like friends and stuff that we've got to set an example for at the end of the day. And it was just a big weird scenario, but it was basically Jack's frustration letting that out onto a song. And obviously the instrumental was written first, and that didn't come from any kind of specific place really. It was just a riff that we had, and we wrote the song. But then the meaning came from Jack's frustration, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I remember it was like literally 2 days after, wasn't it? After New Year's Eve, and then I was just pissed off about it, if I'm honest. I'm not really saying much about it because I don't want to comment. These lot are always like, the song's actually about it. But if you are listening to Full Pelt, you know who you are. I'm sorry you got this song wrote, mate, but it's just one of them things. I think everyone's got that mate, ain't they, that don't know when to stop.
Oh yeah.
I think that song is for that. So, but I would say, if you're ever pissed off or you just need to vent or you just I don't know. No Shame is the song on that EP to do it to, for sure.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and I love a song with a story behind it. And I mean, yeah, everyone's been to that party with that person, and if you haven't, listeners, it probably means you're that person.
Sure, but at least you have a song wrote by it.
Exactly. But no, great track. Listeners definitely need to check it out. And I'm going to move on to Dead in Love, but we're going to change up the sort of modus operandi of the question. So I always talk on this podcast about music videos. Regular listeners know. Obviously, I grew up watching, talk about nostalgia, the sort of music videos on Krang and Scuzz and everything before school, after school. And
Yeah.
it's such a dying art, it's not really a thing much anymore. Obviously, there is YouTube, and that's where we like to push our sort of love of music videos. But before I dig into the video for Dead in Love, just in general, because sometimes I struggle. Sometimes I'm interviewing a band and I look on YouTube and there's just no videos to talk about. You've got plenty, and they're all really, really good. So, I mean, I'm assuming you share my love of music videos. Are they an important thing for you to engage in?
We love it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I probably imagine we're from the same era because we all grew up watching Kerrang and Scuzz.
Yeah.
And, like, personally, I miss it dearly because that was like my favourite thing, and it's how I discovered a lot of my favourite bands like in that scene. But yeah, it's a weird one.
It's at the end of the day, it's the way we see it is it's just like it's another chance for us to have an extension of that song and give another, like, it's quite mad because, like, Dead in Love, I'd wrote that song in not about a different scenario, you know what I mean, in my head, and I've wrote it about something personal to me, and then to hear when we were working on it with the director Joe Vozza, it was like, it's just crazy to that when you watch it after, you're like, wow, the song's like got a new lease of life. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, I think you can either go in like two directions, that you can really like emphasize the point of what the song's about and then really lean into that sort of storyline, or like say rebirth it in a way where it kind of gives it a new energy and a new sort of perspective for us, because that's what makes it enjoyable on the day. I think it gives you a lot more inspiration.
It's the creativeness of doing it. Like, I grew up for like dreaming of, I hope one day we get to make like sick music videos, you know what I mean? Like, I'd have so many good ideas. You think that. But then when we're sat down, we talk about it for days, don't we? Like, and so much planning goes into our videos, and like, it's probably not, it probably doesn't even come across in some of it, but some of it will. But there's like all the props in it. Like, Todd will go out for weeks before we do these videos around charity shops after work. He'll like go to car boots and stuff, and he'll come home with some questionable things sometimes. But I will give it like credit where it's due. Like, it always comes in hand when we're like, right, we're doing a video. And we're lucky enough that we work with really good directors. They're really good friends of ours as well, Zach Pinchin and Joe. They just take our crazy ideas on board, and they're like, yeah, let's try and do it. We get it. So it's like, it's cool.
Yeah, it's nice to sort of have no creative restrictions.
Yeah.
Like, and it's always kind of, in a weird way, like more fun sometimes to have a lower budget on things.
Yeah.
Because you have to really work around how you're going to get across what you want to get across. Because we have some stuff that's like,
you'd be surprised. We've done some videos. Yeah, some of them videos have cost us like a couple £100, but then we've spent like thousands, like, or 1,000 and a bit. I don't know. Like, we're still not at that level where we're talking like. But it goes to show, like, we're trying to. We want to keep, like, I think all our videos, they're getting, not like they're getting better, but they look more polished and a bit more like, I don't know, because we're becoming more of ourselves, and we've learned so much about ourselves over the years. You can watch it through the things, you know what I mean, and you start to see the identity like 4 minutes. Sometimes we'll sit there, won't we, and we'll go through them. We've not watched them for like years or whatever, and then you sit there and you're like, fucking hell, as if we wrapped our fucking whole living room with foil. You know, like,
that costs a fortune.
Like, yeah, why did
That's probably one of the most expensive things. We spend about like £250 on foil.
But then like, it's just so nice to then see the progression. You look at No Shame, and like, that's got that same chrome effect that we wanted in the video, but we now know so much more about making videos. And it's weird, it's cool. I can't wait to do more of it, if I'm honest. I think one day I'd like to think we already started like a short movie. It was going to be like there was an EP that was meant to come out and it didn't, and part of that EP was going to be 3 music videos, and then the whole thing was going to be made into like a short film, and those videos were going to be part of it. And I'd still really like to do that one day. I think when the time's right and whatever, we'll get back at it. But yeah, it's definitely a big interest of ours.
Yeah, no, and I definitely hope you do get back at that. I love the passion you clearly got for it. You know, mirrors my own, and I love as well that you touched on costs, because I do kind of push sometimes to the bands I'm talking to, you know, that actually, you know, to get something passable out there that still helps engage, you know, the audience. You don't have to spend like the world on it to get something that looks good. So yeah, no, it's really great, and hopefully bands that might listen to this would obviously pick up on that. And obviously, Dead in Love the video. I got real like Stacey's mum vibes from it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was an influence. I'd assume so.
It was big though. That's probably the
Biggest influences.
We actually watched that back and super inappropriate.
Yeah.
Like, we don't remember it being
Yeah, like,
so we're trying to make a tamer version.
Different.
yeah, but then it's I don't know, like again, the director Joe, we've worked with him before, and he's got that like Tarantino vibe going off, hasn't he? And he loves to work with actual film and stuff like that, and it's like all analog. It's really cool. But yeah,
I think what we've kind of learned to love as well is when we first started out, like with videos and stuff, everything was super kind of serious. Like a few years ago, we tried to do that thing where we're just serious in every music video, and I think with the mishaps, that's when we kind of turned it on its head, and we were like, I remember us having a conversation about Foo Fighters. So this like brings us back to the Kerrang and Scuzz TV days, but like they're some of my favorite videos because they just don't give a fuck, and it's like giving the music another, like Lisa Life, like we've already spoke about, but in like you're not taking yourselves too seriously. But then obviously we have other songs as well where we kind of have like Every Day. That's not that type of video at all, because the song, there's no way you can do that kind of video to that kind of song without it just not working. But we love that stuff, you know, just having fun with videos and stuff. Like there's one where Todd's literally,
you're gonna right. I was wondering how I literally, I don't.
We ain't afraid of anything. We'll do it all.
Well, I hope some future directors pick up on that quote, because it could be quite dangerous for you. But yeah, no, it's fantastic, and I love that you used the word fun a few times there, because it really did look like you were having fun with it, and that's really, again, what I always say it should all be about at the end of the day. Like, why are you doing like, you know, music and the industry if you're not trying to fun in it? And yeah, no, absolutely. Again, listeners, there's links going to be in the bio of the episode. If you haven't checked out the videos yet, because maybe that's not your thing, maybe now is the time to go and do that. Click through, go and have a listen. And before we move on to the live side of things, just one sort of prompting question that I referred to earlier. Obviously, you've had 2 EPs out now. But what is the kind of next aim? Are we looking at continuing that path of EPs, or could there be an album?
it's 30, yeah, it's 3. We forget about the first one.
Yeah, because we've got a mixtape.
It's got a mixtape.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Oh, sorry, repeat that. I'm sorry.
All I would focus on is up. It's 2 words.
We won't say too much, but it's not an EP.
Yeah,
It's longer than an EP.
Yeah.
yeah,
Love it.
and it's the first one of what we're doing, and we're
It has already commenced.
yeah.
So
And rhymes with Balbum.
I wonder what that could be.
It's another, like you said earlier, you've caught us at a very good time, and currently it's no secret, like we're writing our debut album, and we've over the last year we've obviously worked really hard, and it's been really rewarding because it's opened a lot of doors for us. And so we've been announced for these Yumi dates, Yumi at 6 days. We're going out to York with them, and we're on a few of the last UK shows as well, which is an absolute honour. But through that, we've been talking. It's really nice. We've been talking to Max, and it's only talking at the minute, but it's nice. But he might be like helping us produce the album, which will be really cool. We've already got, like, I want to say half of it wrote.
Yeah,
like it's like bodied out, and he knows what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, it's crazy because we look up to like his band and him, and it's just crazy how similar he is to us. Like we were just like fucking.
It's all happened in such a short space of time.
Yeah,
like gone from like you, me, Six being like Jack's favorite band since he was a kid to being in WhatsApp group with them. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's bonkers. It's bonkers. Like you see the notifications.
I still have. We were talking. I sent him like we'd been working on a demo yesterday, and I sent him a voice note about it, and we were just chatting, and then he sent something back like, yeah, like when we're in November, when we go away in Europe or whatever, like if you boys want to work on it when we're out there, like I'd be more than happy to. And I literally had to send him a voice note saying, this is one of them moments where I'm just thinking, what the fuck's going on right now? It's like, it's really mad. Like we all like, it's no secret, we all still work like normal jobs, and I've not had work. I'm self-employed, so I've not had any work on this week through just not landing. It's not been a lucky week. And it's just shit like that where you sat there and you think, fuck, like life is good. It's pinch me moments, isn't it? It's been mental, but it's album time next.
That was the full circle moment.
Let's spiral.
Yeah.
Sorry, listeners.
No, I mean that is obviously exciting news, and it feels like the best time. I always give out the social media handles. It's just become tradition. I mean, I'd like to think savvy fans would be able to find you without my help, but they'll flash up on the screen, and it's Mouth Culture on Instagram and TikTok. And I'll have to try and get it in the right spot there.
Force you to do it now.
Yeah. On Facebook and Twitter, or X as I really should call it, it's the Mouth Culture. So I'm assuming someone had stolen Mouth Culture from you.
We need to sort that.
I think it's still
listeners. We should all bombard at Mouth Culture and say, give them the handle. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but yeah.
Yeah, let's get a petition through Parliament for that. Absolutely.
100,000 signatures.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, listeners, there's a lot to be excited about with Mouth Culture. Potential album coming, and obviously lots of live dates. So obviously, you touched on the You Me at 6 dates. You're also supporting Kids in Glass Houses, another great band. Yeah. I mean, it must mean a lot to you to support acts such as those.
Literally. It's kind of like we've done like so many legends.
Oh no, we're just going through the legends.
Just scaling through. Like we did Blackout, we've done Sleeps.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? We've done Teenage Wrist. Like all these fucking like
people that have been about it, and they've like, I don't know, especially Kids in Glass Houses, like Dirt. That was one of my favorite albums growing up. So when that one came through, it was a bit like, what? Like it's still really not processed, honestly. Like, and I can't wait to meet them. I've heard that they're really nice dudes, and we've heard nothing but good stuff about them. So yeah, we're really excited. And it's nice as well because we get to go out with Kids in Glass Houses, go and earn our stripes a little bit with them, and then we've got 4 really good dates. The headline dates, our own headline dates. We'll go through that soon. Don't worry, I won't ruin that segment, which you will hear about if you keep listening.
But yeah, and then we get to go out literally.
The day after, and
we play London, the Underworld as well, which is like another thing that we're like, how is this happening? This is like childhood dream shit. But we play there. We have a day off or a day of traveling, and then we start 17 shows in Europe with You Me at 6.
Straight to the Bataclan.
It's not bad, is it?
Incredible, absolutely it is, and yeah, I mean. I obviously wanted to touch on the headline dates, and prime opportunity for fans that have obviously enjoyed Whatever the Weather to come and hear those songs live. Not that you're not going to be playing them when you support the other bands, but obviously I'd imagine traditionally, a band would play more songs at a headline show than a support show. I would assume that's going to happen this time around, and I believe it's Glasgow, Leeds, your hometown Leicester, and obviously the Underworld that you're playing. So again, listeners, if you can head along to one of those shows, absolutely do it, because Snake Eyes are the main support as well. Another band that I love. So it's going to be obviously great nights to get down there. In general, just what should fans expect from those headline dates?
Well, we're going to play Whatever the Weather in full.
We're still going to play a lot of Mishaps. We're debating at the minute which oldies to pull out. Obviously, we've been touring a lot this year, and we've not overplayed material, but we've had songs that we've been sat on for ages, haven't we? So I guess
it's just finding that balance of like having the sort of nostalgic moment of the older tracks, still the freshness of Mishaps, and then obviously the immediate release of Whatever the Weather. So I think you've sorted the set list now, haven't you, for the headline?
We know what I'm just trying not to give it all away.
Talked about to. We're going like step up in like performance, production.
Oh yeah.
And everything, like the sound is going to be so much better. And I think it's good if you can get down, like you got.
Yeah, we work.
We want to see.
I remember the last time we played Leicester, Loz came out on stage with us. Loz Taylor from Sleeps. And that was like the first time we've ever done anything like that. And I remember as soon as we did it, I thought, we're definitely doing this on there. So like way more. So I think we're gonna have to ask some new friends and see who's about.
Who wants to come out?
Yeah, I mean that certainly whets the appetite. So listeners definitely, head along to one of the headline shows, and if not, obviously, definitely get in early if you go into the Kids in Glass Houses or Yumi at 6 shows, because it's always good to support the support bands. So make sure you do that, because you're not going to regret it with mouth culture. Obviously, so much that we've got to talk about. Listeners, again, just dive into all of it. You're not going to regret it. We are towards the end of the podcast now. We have one final segment, which is always the only question that is the same every single podcast that we do. And early on in this podcast life, I found myself talking a lot about issues within the music industry with guests, and I thought I don't want that to take over the podcast, because I want these podcasts to be about the guests. So I've shoehorned it in at the end, basically. So it's a little fanciful segment I have called Magic Wand, and I normally give the guest or guests a magic wand, and you can change one thing about the music industry, but obviously normally one thing only. But there's 3 of you, so if you want to go up to 3, I'll allow it. But what would you either together or individually like to change about the music industry?
I think the number one is royalty payouts, maybe. Streaming payouts and the rate that bands get paid per stream.
I wish it went back to people buying records, and like, as great as streaming is, and I'm an avid streamer myself, I really wish that we had that opportunity for people to just appreciate like art a bit more. It's so like it's the same old shit, but it's so accessible and all that.
Yeah, I think nowadays it's you listen to 3-4 minutes of a song and you don't realise the weeks and like even months that have gone into the production, the writing, the preparation.
If you buy physical, that's like something. I know you still can do that, and there's so many people that do, which is great, but. Yeah, I think streaming would definitely be one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think, secondly, I know we touched on it, you can retract it if you want. I wish music channels were still like a fucking thing. I know that's like, do you know, like there's Instagram pages like fucking, QB and stuff like that, and like Good News and all that stuff. Imagine if like MTV had a page like that it was just popping off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They probably do. I don't know, like I wish. Like there was just a.
You're like a more of an old school nature to the general feel of everything. I think the modernisation of everything.
Is it just the music industry, or are we talking the world?
Traditionally, it's just the music industry, but if you want to put the world to rights, I'm never going to stop anyone.
Can we delete someone out?
That's a good thing. Yeah, I'd change the monopoly and power that labels and industry people have over artists. I think having a more controlled environment of what you put out and how you control it. Like we've not personally really experienced that to a level, but I know especially with major labels, it's a massive thing. And I think a lot of people get pigeonholed, like just shelved.
Yeah.
Just for any old reason. It can be like one song didn't pop off, so therefore you're off. Like no, don't care about you anymore. It's like that you're just a commodity at the end of the day, and there's nothing personable about artists anymore, especially in the mainstream. And I wish there was more.
I was going to say, I wish all the small venues would just probably have a bit more support. I know that's a big thing at the minute. Yeah. Well, has been a big thing for a very long time now, but there's like we've lost a couple, haven't well, we've lost a few now in Leicester, like small venues that growing up we got to play luckily, but like now they're not a thing, and it's like
Makes you feel old.
yeah, but no, it's just shit for the young ones that are coming up and like want to do it, and like if the only venue open is like, well, I know it's not, but like Leicester O2 and stuff like that, like these small places aren't there. It's hard for bands to get an opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, because you need them small. It's a building blocks, isn't it? It's like we've done it that sort of old-fashioned way of doing as many shows as we could in as many places. Like we played to 2 people in Newcastle. You know what I mean? We drove for like 3.5 hours, played to show 2 people, and then drove 3.5 hours back, and we were like, "What the fuck?" But then sold it out like a few months later. So it's that progression of doing those shows and sort of earning your stripes that you reap the rewards, but you obviously need the venues to do that. So yeah, there are 3 things I think.
Shout out
same rooms, streaming, and industry people,
plebs in the industry.
Plebs.
Yeah. And I think the thread that sort of runs between all of them is just, the industry needs to be a bit fairer for everyone. Certainly the people at the bottom of it, doesn't it? All the money seems to go right up the top, and that impacts on, artists trying to break through, the venues that they're meant to be playing in. And obviously a lot of work to be done, and we've got a relatively new government. Hopefully they might actually pull their finger out and support some of these causes. Let's see. Let's see.
Who knows? Good old Keir.
So moving away from our illustrious Prime Minister, and obviously just to close out with mouth culture, again, listeners, you've heard us run through all of this. Check out the videos, check out the EP. Please go along to a show. Again, buy physical albums, buy merch at the shows. It really does support not just mouth culture, but any band that you're going to see. Absolutely do it. That's my final message, but I always give the final message over to the guests. So what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Well, firstly, thank you for a sick
interview. This was actually really nice. I guess shout out the EP, whatever the weather. Our manager will be really angry if we didn't.
You should listen to it. We've got a ton of shows coming up. We've still got a busy year ahead of us. I know it's like coming to an end, but we've still got a lot to do, haven't we? If you've never heard of us before and you've reached this point, chances are you were interested a little bit. So please go and listen to our music.
And if you don't come to the show, you'll have 7 years bad luck.
Yeah.
So looking out for you.
Come to the show.
Oh, brilliant way to end, guys. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Thanks for having us, man.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Mouth Culture. Do make sure you check out their latest EP, Whatever the Weather, and of course follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.